Have you ever watched someone with the life you want and thought, why not me? Why can that be me? I asked myself that for years. And when I finally chased it, I got the answer completely wrong. It cost me years and more money than I want to admit. Let me show you what I mean. I've been watching YouTube for about 15 years. I was a fan long before I ever thought about making anything myself. And there was this one woman I started following way back in 2016, Valeria. She has a Russian background, just like me, and was living in Canada back then and making YouTube content in English with her accent. So I was drawn to her right away. I watched her live for years, but watching was all it was. It never once crossed my mind that I could do this too, because the girls and women I watched, including Valeria, were a certain kind. They were beautiful, tall, thin, mostly models, or they had these interesting lives, living abroad, something worth documenting. And I quietly put myself in the other category, the watching category, not the making category. I was even on Instagram back then, posting a photo here and there, some stories, so it's not like I was hiding. I just never thought creator was a word that had anything to do with me. And that didn't change for years. Then slowly something shifted. I had started showing my face on video, learning to talk on camera, and the more I did it, the more I noticed the field had changed. It wasn't just the models anymore, it was women with accents, ordinary lives, not typical influencers, just showing up anyway. I kept seeing more interesting backgrounds, not perfect English, putting themselves out there and building something of their own. That's when the question finally showed up after all those years of watching. And it was not about posting a photo or a story. I was already doing that. It was about the whole thing. Could I actually build something real out of this? Could I be one of them? Why not me? But before I could ever ask that question, I was a different girl, unsure of herself on the inside. On the outside, maybe I looked collected. A few people even told me I seemed confident. And I wanted so badly for that to be true. But inside, I just didn't think I was good enough. I didn't believe in my skills, in my work, or in myself. And I've always been a creative person. I studied fashion design. I had making art since I was a child. It was the only thing I was actually good at. And I still didn't trust it. The fear of not being perfect was just bigger than all of it. I can give you some small examples. In school, I joined an art class and the task was to paint and decorate the schoolyard. And I didn't put myself forward because I was sure I couldn't do it well enough. I can't remember how I exactly got out of it, but I know I did not help decorate the schoolyard. Years later, at university, a friend asked me to help alter her jacket. And I said no, and I wouldn't even look at it. I was only in my second semester of fashion design, so maybe I really couldn't have. But I still feel a little bad about it because she just wanted my help. And the bigger examples are, I almost got hired twice at two places I would have loved to work at. A big fashion house in Germany and a shoe company abroad in Asia. It was even for a design assistant job as my first job after fashion school. Both times it came down to the very end and both times someone else was just a little better. So I took a trainee job back in my hometown, the one place I actually wanted to leave after graduating university. That was the pattern though. I would reach for something big, I would get really close, and then when it didn't quite work out, I would quietly retreat to the safe option and tell myself that was probably where I belonged anyway. I stayed at that job in my hometown for a few years, and honestly, I'm glad I did it, but that's another story. But on the side, I started trying to build something of my own. First, it was a business selling physical products on Amazon. I put a lot into it and it didn't work out. So eventually, I started offering graphic design services instead. And this time it worked because that was the one thing where my real talent was. When I finally went fully self-employed, that's what I did. Just freelance design that I grew from there. And also going full-time self-employed changed me in ways I didn't expect. And somewhere in there, I started to show up online, my face and my voice on video. Small stuff, not very consistent, but I was doing the first steps. Then years later, I saw this one girl on Instagram say something that lit me up. She said, you have to build your personal brand online, post consistently, become the person others want to be around, the person who gets invited, the one person doors open for because of what you've built. And that hit me so hard, I started almost that same day, posting every day for months. I started on Instagram because it felt easier than YouTube, even though the long videos were what I really wanted. I just hadn't figured out how to handle long-form content yet. And the reason she got to me, she started out as a graphic designer just like me. And she took design, the same skill I had, and built a whole business out of it, all by showing up online consistently for years. So she wasn't a distant dream like the models and influencers I watched on early days Instagram and YouTube. She was a mirror. She had started right where I was standing and built a business and lifestyle I was dreaming about. And I didn't just admire her, I wanted to learn how she did it. So I bought her courses. The plan felt perfect. I would take the thing I was good at, freelance design, the business that already paid my bills, and I would use it to fund the thing I actually wanted, which was creating content and building a personal brand and something of my own online. And I told myself I was doing it the smart way. I wasn't just blindly copying her. I was learning her system and running it from my own intuition, taking what fit and building my own plan on top of it. So I started every day, the posting, the creating, the slow work of figuring out what I even wanted to say, what topics I wanted to talk about. I thought I finally found it. A person I could relate to, a system that made sense, and my own instincts were still in the driver's seat. I was sure I was on the right track. And for a few weeks, it was working. I did this, so to speak, boring daily work. I kept creating and posting every day, no matter what. I kept hunting for what I was really about. I wanted to find my niche through creation and not through overthinking or overanalyzing and strategizing. And then suddenly I found another voice, someone I related to even more. I made a whole other video about it. I link it here and in the description down below. But here's the short version. This coach convinced me I was doing it the wrong way, that I needed a different method, a different strategy to build the business I wanted to build. And I believed this coach over the other graphic designer girl and over myself. I dropped my own plan and started following that coach's new plan to the letter. And I fell into the same pattern as always, trusting the louder voice over my own. Long story short, that coaching ended too, and I did what I always did after these things ended. I stopped, I got quiet for a while, and I did a lot of thinking about the last few months and the last few years, and this whole loop I kept running. I talk about that loop in depth in the other video I just mentioned, so I won't go all the way into it here. But this time, in the quiet, something was different. The old question came back, the same one from the very beginning. Why not me? Except it sounded different now. The first time that question was really a question for other people. Am I allowed? Is this for someone like me? I was asking the world for a yes. This time it wasn't a question at all. It was more like a decision I had already made and just hadn't noticed. Why not me? Not will they let me, just why not? And here's the difference. Because the first version of Why Not Me sent me looking for someone to follow. The second one sent me back to my own work. Here's the part I got wrong for years. I thought why not me meant I could have what they had, their life, their business, their exact way of doing it. So I kept trying to copy the person in front of me, whoever it was at the time, instead of asking the only question that actually mattered. Do I even want their life? Or do I just want the feeling of being sure, the feeling they all seemed to have? Here's something I only noticed later. So many of the people I was trying to copy had completely different lives than mine. Different situations, different goals. I would take a system built by someone living in a big city, for example, chasing something I did not even want and try to force it into my life. And my life looks nothing like that. I live in a small town with a lot of nature around me. My life is quieter and I like how it is. No wonder none of it fit, because it turned out I didn't want their life. I wanted mine. I had just never sat still long enough to find out what mine actually was. And when I finally did sit still, it wasn't some big dramatic reinvention. It was almost boring. It was the design work I already had, my design business I built myself. It was talking in my own real voice, in my third language, accent and all. And it was making a long video like this one with no coaching system behind it, just something I actually wanted to say. That was it. That was the whole secret I had spent years and a lot of money trying to buy. So here's what I want you to take from all of this. I'm not going to promise you can have their exact life. Maybe you can, but maybe once you look closely, you find you don't even want it. But that permission you're waiting for, the yes you keep trying to buy in a course, in a coaching from someone with a nicer life than yours, I bought that yes more than once. It's expensive and it never worked because the person selling it was never the one who could give it to me. Because here's the thing, nobody could sell me. The only yes I actually needed was me looking at my own work and saying, this is enough. I am enough. I can just start as myself right now. That's the yes I kept trying to buy from other people. And it was the one thing only I could give myself. So the next time you catch yourself watching someone thinking that's for people like them, not me, ask a different question. Not how do I become her or him, just what would this look like if it were mine? In my real life, the one I actually have and actually like. And then, why not you? And if any of this felt familiar, I would love to hear about it in the comments. Thank you for watching, thank you for listening, and I'll see you in the next one.